We are moving towards the end. So what we also want to do is like give some actionable idea about how to achieve more success using tools and AI as well. So just to begin with, like what do you all think about how important it is like to prioritize right accounts and then target those accounts with personalized outreach?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the main thing for me, and I kind of started with this, and I think I've revisited a lot, is if you are doing what is mentioned, right, working backwards, okay, this is how many I need to reach out to in order to hopefully get this many replies, in order to book this many meetings, then I'm guessing, right, like based on, like the question, how do I meet my number? Figure that out. And then once you've done that, I think using, realistically something that can provide you with both the personalization, but in an efficient way. So you're doing the research that's needed. You're figuring out what it is, what are their priorities as a company? What are their priorities as a team, as much as you can find that out? And then individually, right? Like where do they sit within the org and how does that match with your product and what you're selling? And then being able to do that in a very efficient way, to create that outreach is most important to me. So I think coming up with whatever it is, whether it's EvaBot, in order to do that, that's something, right, that like I currently do on my team. So once after we prioritize, then I know with the tool exactly how I can take that information quickly in, absorb it, and then create that into a communication that's effective. So I would say getting whatever that is, the flow, getting that mapped out so that you can repeatedly do that in a fluid motion in order to get where you need to be is most important for me.
Great. Yeah, Tom,
Yeah,
Alaimo.
yeah. So there's two things I'd call out. One is, I think it's the Abraham Lincoln quote that's like, if I had 10 hours to chop down a tree, I'd sharpen my axe for 9 hours and spend 1 hour chopping it. To me, that's the same as how do you find where you're going to prioritize at the account and contact level? So if you're an SDR or an AE that's got a territory, there are accounts that are much more likely to buy. The information is out there. And if you're spending your time in the wrong places, you could send the best email in the world. You could have the best cold call script in the world. But if they don't have a pain or a priority that you can help solve and you can't educate them on that, it's all that effort's going to be for nothing. Now, if you do have the right accounts and prospects, there's data. I think this data is from Outreach, if I'm not mistaken, that using 3+ channels can lead to 5 to 10 times higher replies than using 1 or 2 channels. So for the people that only make calls or only send emails or only do LinkedIn or only send direct mail, they're missing a huge pot out there, a huge part of the pot by not expanding the channels that they're using. Now, doesn't mean that you have to make 27 calls in a sequence. You can still ratio based on what you're seeing work, but being able to kind of have a surround sound of the account and of the contacts that you're prospecting is a huge proponent in the success that you might have from outbounding. So curious what Tom S has to add on that too.
I coach this. This is one of the very first lessons we even dive into any of my workshops, right? Or probably one of the biggest areas I see in most modern kind of sales operations right now is the account prioritization, the research, the stuff on that back end that's going to make all the difference. I walk people through an entire chart on how to prioritize their accounts first, right? Bucket 1 is like your top big whales, all the way down to tier 4, which is stuff that might not be fit for the company. Then do the same thing for the contacts. Who are your influencers? Who are your champions? Who are your target, big number, 1 through 4, 1 being your top target, and then who can you multi-thread and involve in a decision, through tiers 2 through 4, right? So then every day you come in, first thing you're doing is you're hitting your tier 1 accounts. Get them out of the way, get those research done, get those targeted accounts and personalization in there, then move into your other buckets, right? And you just constantly move that around. And anything that is not worth your time goes into tier 3 and tier 4s. And from there, you kind of sprinkle in the templated stuff, right? It's not as personal. It might be just persona language of just targeting them on what their pains are but your tier 1 and tier 2s are where you're putting all your attention. I promise you, if you go do that today and start putting in that work, you won't miss quota again. You won't. You'll be able to do it just because you're putting your time in the right places. And then from those top accounts, now you start doing your research, putting in your notes 3 things as to why I'm reaching out. So every time that account comes up, you're like, you know what? I'm calling Savannah because of X, Y, and Z. That's right. That's what I'm working with her. She's doing this right now. This is her, role. Now, as soon as that phone picks up, I can get right into it with her. Or as soon as I write that message, I know what I'm reiterating to her. So I think it's a huge part and more required now than it ever has been.
Yeah, and like one of the things that we have built in our tool as well is you are able to customize your signals so that the account research that comes up using AI is actually tailored to what you're the pains you're solving for and stuff like that.